Hi, this is Stefano Casillo from Jacksvane Studio, currently working on a video game called Hydrofoil Generation, which is kind of a hardcore game simulator targeted mostly at foiling boats, although we are thinking about including also some traditional boats in it. And in this devlog we will look at what happened in the last 3-4 weeks in the development of Hydrofoil Generation. So let's start from TV overlays. So there's a bunch of new stuff going on in here. So in green we can see a circle around the mark. In yellow we have a ley line. We have a nice new animation that is showing where the wind is coming from. And finally we have the ladders. The ladders, when you watch a sailing competition, the ladders are a very easy way to understand better what's the spatial relationship between different boats and understanding who's ahead and who is behind, because the ladder are oriented in the direction of the wind. So we can see in this situation how Chax is in front of Kunosh, that is in front of Jax. Each of those are 100 meters. And obviously these are not visible when you're actually driving, so it's something that we will only have when somebody is spectating a race on the internet. Hydrofoil Generation concept is to have the player in the driver's seat of the boat, so you will not have all this additional help. This is mostly, if not only, for spectators watching the race. Next, we're going to talk about ropes rendering. So until now, if you saw some videos of Hydrofoil Generation, you always had this image of the mainsail sort of intersecting and going through some static ropes that we had in the middle of the boat. And now we have this sort of procedural ropes that also reflect how much tension there is on the rope. So you can see that the rope on the right is actually under more tension, and you have this sort of flappy, vibrating with speed rope on the left. We still need to work on the texturing for this. So right now it's only getting the shape right. The texturing has to be, I will have to be a little bit smarter when it comes to the texture, to try to give the impression that actually it's moving as you would expect the rope to move. Also, we want to see another rope from the winch through to the hand of the wing trimmer. So that's also going to be something tricky to implement. And while we're watching these images from the back of the boat, there is also another big change that I did to the physics, so where I made the entire assembly of the mast and the wing have an actual angular inertia. So before, the movement was a little bit not really physically correct, while now the way the entire wing moves, it tends to accelerate and then it tends to slow down. So it's a more physically correct, and it can be noticed during maneuvers as the boat is going through the wind. Assists were a big part of my last weeks of work on Hydrofoil Generation. There were some interesting comments on Sailing Anarchy with people that were a little bit scared about the fact that the game had a very steep learning curve. So I really wanted to take my time and work on this driving assist. So the assists that we can see are things like helm assist, which we will see later what it does. But then you can have auto foiling, auto sails, and other things like change the side where you are on the boat, left and right, drop the boards, raise the boards, all those stuff. And the idea is to basically get to a situation where you can actually play Hydrofoil Generation with the gamepad and be able to do an entire maneuver, being that a jibe or a tack, just by pressing one key. So let's have a look in particular what the helm assist does. And you can see that in this clip, in order for me to get the boat to go straight, I have to constantly push slightly on the right on the gamepad. And if I leave the gamepad, the boat will start drifting on the left. And that's just how sailboats work. Here, I'm enabling the helm assist together with the other helps, and you can see that now as soon we start flying, I just point in one direction, leave the pad, and the boat is just going there. So we have some kind of simple artificial intelligence that is trying to figure out what's the correct angle for the helm that we need in order to go straight. So see, I go in the direction that I want to go, I can leave the gamepad, and that allows me to go completely straight. And we're going to see also the maneuver, so I'm going to press A right now, and the crew will move, wait for the board drop, the board will drop, then I can turn, I can slam all the way on the left, get to my angle, leave the gamepad, and there you go. The helm swap happens automatically, the board raise happens automatically. Here I'm using a prototype of a steering wheel that I'm working on together with Raffaele from Manufactory in Italy. So we basically took a G27 and added these two rotating wheels. And you can see that with my right thumb I'm controlling the foils on this boat. Right now this boat is on auto sails, so I'm only controlling the helm and the foils. One thing that is interesting is that this has force feedback, so I can actually feel what the boat is doing. And later in the clip we should be able to see a situation where I'm starting to fly too high. So here we go for a jibe, so I go for a jibe, so at a certain point I will start to fly too high, and the steering wheel will start to automatically tell me that the boat is sliding. And you see this correction that I'm doing, it's something that I will never be able to feel with the mouse, but the steering wheel was giving me this information that the boat was sliding on the right because of the flight. My ride height was too high. So collisions were really something that I was not planning to have in Hydrofoil Generation at all, but more and more people are asking me about it. So I started to do some experiments to have collisions between the boat and the marks. That's very important. And also collisions between boat and boat. So the idea here is that I always imagine Hydrofoil Generation as a game without collisions, mostly for a gameplay point of view, coming from the experience in sim racing, where having people that go around crashing into other people and ruining everybody's race, it's a big problem. So my original idea was to have no collisions in this game, but we could have something like server based, where everybody that opens a server can actually decide if they want to use collisions or not. So you can imagine that a race between experienced people that can use collisions. And because this is a game that is still in development, while I was having fun with Chucks in multiplayer, just banging it into each other to test collision, this funny bug happened, and I thought it was a good idea to show it to you. Let's have a look at new stuff that was added to the HUD. So this is a right eye indicator. Can be an interesting feedback for the driver, saying, okay, I want to ride at this particular height from the water. This is an average. The boat has like 4 sensors to detect ride height, and it's giving an average of those 4 sensors. So depending on how much you're heeling or you're pitching, you can read different values. An interesting one is going to be this differential swap indicator. So what we're trying to look at here is this part at the bottom. So you will see that there is a kind of a triangle indicator, and this is showing where the differential is pushing down. So you can see that as I'm tacking, you can see that the differential goes to the left side. And this is something that is useful and interesting, because you want to try to kind of time your maneuvers to be kind of in sync with that differential. Here we see also the indicator for the collision, possible collision incoming. So here I had to airway a little bit and pass behind this red boat. So that's how in Hydrofoil Generation you get notified that there is a collision incoming. And finally we have these turn statistics here at the very bottom. I will have to find a nicer place to put it, but this is giving information on our last turn. So it's telling us what the entry speed was, the minimum speed, and the exit speed when the board was raised up. So in this case, we entered at 24, we had a minimum speed of 17 knots, and when the board was raised, we were doing 19. So this gives an interesting feedback on our maneuver and allow us to get better at getting these numbers right. Obviously you want, especially your exit speed, to be as high as possible. And finally, let me give you a sneak preview on the boat that we are currently working on. So you see here the lovely Chucks working on, I think, doing the UV unwrapping for this boat. And it's a 40-foot monohull foiling. I hope to show you videos of this thing in action soon. Before I leave you, just a reminder, Hydrofoil Generation is on Steam. We're planning to release in early access by the end of this year. And what would really help us at the moment is for you to wishlist the game and give us a feedback. Until next time, this was Stefano Casillo. Ciao.